Joe Masada, the Oklahoman. Mark, another close game that really came down to crunch time. Like, what are you learning about these guys when Shea's not out there and a bunch of young guys in big spots?
I thought we really competed tonight for the most part. I thought, played really hard for much of the game. Bounced back a couple times, like weathered a couple runs and just kind of kept ourselves in it. Playing from behind like that down the stretch is tough to evaluate, but I was just impressed by the compete level of the team tonight. I thought like we brought it from a competitive standpoint.
Josh had a big bounce back game, and it really he took advantage of the size of their guards, and really hunted those mismatches. What did you think of just the aggressive way in which he played?
I thought he played with great force. He was on the gas. He was downhill much of the game, which got his size into the game. He and Jalen both, and really, thought he got fouled a lot. And they shot 39 free throws, and if you look at the last couple, if that's like the bar for what a foul is in an NBA basketball game, then I thought Jalen Williams, Dort, they have size, and so people tend to bounce off them a little more. But illegal contact's illegal contact. So I thought he could have had a much bigger night. All three of those guys, if the standard that was applied down the stretch of that game was applied throughout it, I thought they could have had a big night.
Just to follow up on the free throw discrepancy, I think you were pretty upset about the Isaiah Joe 3 that wasn't maybe looking for the 4-point play there. What do you think about how it was called sort of in the last few minutes?
The officials aren't perfect, and that's not the expectation. All we're asking for is fairness and consistency. I do feel like I end up answering a lot of questions from you guys about free throw discrepancies and how the game's called, and I'm not choosing your questions. So, I think there's probably something to that, which is disappointing because, again, all we're asking for is fairness and consistency.
I don't think anyone's surprised of how well J-Dub is playing, but he seems to have an elevated play, especially when Shea has been absent. You just want to talk about the most impressive, I think, to me is only 2 turnovers, still getting some steals, being aggressive defensively. You just want to talk about his elevated level of play, especially with Shea being out.
Yeah, I don't think it's overly elevated. I'd kind of push back on that a little bit. He plays at a ridiculously high level every night. That's part of what makes him such an intriguing player is just his compete level is really good, especially defensively. Like what the guy does defensively every night is impressive. I do think the one thing we're seeing a little bit more of is like ball in his hands. He's running that second unit a little bit, and he's playing with incredible force. And he's in the paint almost at will. Makes great decisions when he's in there. He can finish. He should get fouled, and is coming along pretty nicely.
He was at 40 threes, but 60 points in the paint. Was that it's kind of a weird stat, but was it more of you guys taking what they were giving you, or was it a little bit settling? It seemed like you could get whatever you wanted in the paint.
Well, the last 2 games we've outscored our opponent in the paint significantly, which is kind of where we want to be, in terms of a sustainable source of offense. The threes last night and tonight, were a difference maker for our opponent. The free throws have been a difference maker. And so, I like how we're attacking offensively. I don't think the last couple of games, if we were to self-evaluate why we're coming up a little short in these games, I don't think it's an offensive thing. I think defensively there's some execution stuff and some tightening we could do on that end.
And yesterday you mentioned how you guys are missing Shea more defensively. Just what exactly are you missing? Because obviously you look at the offensive side, you're missing a guy that's scoring 30 points a game, but defensively he's been really, really good on that end of the floor.
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is we're capable, of whatever 5 guys are on the court, we're capable of being a better defense than we've shown the last couple games. But I do think it's a testament to Shea's progress on that end of the floor, that it's noticeable. He brings length. He's a really good shot contester. He competes, and he knows the schemes really well, and he's out there for a lot of minutes. And so I do think that's one, takeaway from this stretch, not necessarily how the team's playing, but just like reflecting on the impact he's had on the defensive end of the floor, independent of, the monster offensive year he's had, just speaks to his impact as a player.
Yeah, Mark, tonight was the first time you started J. Will and JRE together. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that pairing, and also it seems like Jeremiah struggled to kind of find some rhythm since he's come back from that ankle sprain. What are you seeing right now from him?
I thought he competed really hard last night. I thought he competed hard tonight. The thinking going big was to try to, get J. Will on Vanderbilt and to keep a big body on Bamba or whoever they started. J. Will on Vanderbilt was to limit the rebounding, and that was effective. Vanderbilt didn't. I don't think he had an offensive rebound tonight. And so from that standpoint, it was good. Offensively, it could have been better. I think we were more fluid when we got more perimeter guys out there, but there are trade-offs. So it was something we wanted to take a look at, and we thought this was a good opponent to do it.
Throughout the season, you've mixed in some different zone defensive coverages. Tonight there was a 3-2. Is it something that the offense on the other team is doing, or are you just trying to keep it on their toes, or just anything in general on why you switched to a zone?
Throw off rhythm. Based on the lineups they have out there or how the game's going, if we're struggling to if they're in a rhythm and man, it's a good time to zone. You foul less in zone statistically, so if we're in the bonus, we're more likely to zone them. And you give up more threes and less rim, so if there's a lineup on the floor for them that at least those numbers are reflective of our zone. I don't know about everybody's, but those are some of the reasons why we do it. And we try to do different things to break the offense's rhythm. It was good for us last night. It almost got us back in the game against Sacramento.
Jalen, there were a lot of ebbs and flows to this game. What was your feeling out there on the floor about how this game turned?
Yeah, it was back and forth kind of from the start. I thought we did a good job competing. Just a lot of back and forth. Obviously, it ended up not being our way, but I think we kind of let them get too big of a run late early in the fourth, too. Just kind of having a slow start to start the fourth really kind of hurt us.
And then, you guys played to your strengths offensively, 60 points in the paint, 29 assists. What was it about their offense that was difficult to overcome despite how well you all were scoring the ball?
We fouled a lot, whether they were fouls or not. That kind of hurt us, especially down the stretch. I think we fouled a lot early, which kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. Got hit with some 50-50 calls that didn't go our way, too, so just fouling kind of hurt us.
Jalen, you and Josh really had a lot of success getting to the rim and finishing there. Was that sort of an advantage that you thought you might have in this one against their smaller guards?
They were big. They actually kind of played a smaller lineup, so it was just something that we kind of attacked, whether they're big or not, just trying to get paint touches, especially because Shea's out, and he does it a lot, so trying to make up ground in that regard is something that we've kind of been focusing on, and Josh and myself and the kind of rest of the team know when to spray out and get our shooters open or when we can finish. So,
Nick Gallo, Bally Sports. Josh, just with the game flow and the lead changes and the ties that you all had, what were some of the game-changing moments that you felt like happened? Because it seemed like both teams, at different points in the game, really had a chance to kind of take hold of this one.
Yeah, that's exactly how it went. It kind of was back and forth. They got a lead, we got a lead. No one really blew it out besides, the start of that fourth, they got out to, I think, 12, 13-point lead, and that was probably as big as it got, all game. And I think we did a good job of kind of cutting into that. But, getting back from a 13-point deficit with, minutes left is tough to do. But, we fought, we played hard. I think we fouled a little too much. They got some big offensive rebounds. For the most part, very winnable game on our part. Just clean up a few things down the stretch, and I think we could take care of that one.
And then Jalen was just talking about fouling too much, and that's been something that you guys, as the youngest team in the NBA, have been kind of continuing to work through is, like, what's the line on the physicality? What's the challenge in that for you guys in terms of the game still moving pretty fast for you all out there?
Yeah, fouling's obviously been a problem. We've addressed it. And I think, we work on our, team defense so much that, it's kind of weird that it is a problem for us considering how much of an emphasis we put on, chest and keeping our hands out on drives, but we just seem to, be reaching. And it's fouls we can easily control. It's little hand fouls, rip-throughs, like Schroeder had one to put him in the bonus. Things like that are easily controllable. So I think just hand discipline is a big part, but when we're playing with our chests, we're a tough team to score on. We've got very switchable lineups, and I think that we need to kind of get back to that because when we're playing that way, our defense, I think, in my opinion, is as good as anyone's in the league. And, I got full confidence in our guys to keep guys in front of us. And if you do get beat, that next man's behind you. So playing without our hands, something we've got to get back to. And when we do, tough team to score on.
Paris Austin Valley Sports. Josh, Coach gave you a lot of credit for you just kind of having your foot on the gas offensively and not getting downhill, getting to the rim. What are you feeling out there when you're playing with that level of kind of force and trying to attack and get into the teeth of the defense?
Yeah, I mean, it can't be like a sometime thing. It has to kind of be every night thing. And I think for me, it kind of, I've picked and choose, a little bit. And I think just being aggressive, but, being aggressive smartly, it doesn't mean you're jamming the ball in every time. But I think that there's times, in the past, in previous games, where it's just I'm too passive, just, kind of diverting to others. But I think I've got to keep my foot on the gas. And that doesn't mean scoring or making a play every time, but just kind of keeping that, that unit on the floor that we're, in attack mode, we're playing aggressive. Because I think that's when we're at our best. So it obviously starts with the guys, me, Dub, Shea, that have the ball in our hands a lot. If we can set that tone, us three, it kind of, speaks to everyone around us that's how we're playing. We're being aggressive. We're getting downhill, and I think when we do, we've got a lot of weapons offensively. If the defense kind of collapses, we got Lindy, Isaiah, Lou, these guys, these shooters on the perimeter that we can kick out to. So when we're in attack mode, I think that's when we play our best basketball.
Yeah, when you're playing like that, I bring this up because you and Jay Will connected on a couple of really good pick and roll opportunities. How did you feel that kind of growing throughout the game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, he sets great screens for one, gets me open, and then it's just a 2-on-1 game with him rolling me, getting downhill. If the big doesn't stop me going to the rim, if it does, to dump off to Jay Will, and he's gotten really good at those little touch shots, from 6-7 foot around the rim, and then he's a really good passer. If the big gets back to him, he's able to find guys on the perimeter. So he's fun to play pick and roll with because very high IQ guy, and he's someone you can trust with the ball in their hands to make the right play.
Josh, this was a big bounce back night for you. Were you just looking forward to getting back out there after not playing a ton last night?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's exactly. It was good that it was, a 24-hour turnaround. Kind of put the last game in the past. Those type of games are going to happen, throughout a career, especially as a young player. It's never going to be a steady, improvement game by game. There's always going to be ebbs and flows, and learning to take those type of games on the chin and acknowledge them, and not put the blame on other people, or not try and make excuses for it. Owning it, and getting ready for the next one.
And then J-Dub is taking on more ball handling duties while Shea has been out. What have you seen from him as he sort of is growing into that role that he hasn't had a ton this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's great when he's aggressive downhill. He's athletic. He can finish. He leads the NBA in dunks for guards. So kind of speaks to that. He makes plays for others. I think best thing about him is he makes plays better around him. And when he's orchestrating the offense and getting downhill, whether it's him finishing or kicking out the shooters or dumping off to the bigs, he does it at a high level. And then go to the other side of the ball, he usually gets tasked with guarding the second best player most nights, and he takes on that role great. Great hands, gets steals, gets in the lanes, gets out in the fast breaks. So he's been great. And I mean, while Shea's been out, he's obviously had a bigger responsibility with the ball, and I think he's taken that opportunity with both hands.
Seems like the last couple of games you guys have been playing uphill the entire time. You guys, it's about a week now. You guys get off to slow starts and what have you. One, do you feel the pressure of maybe trying to press it a little bit because you guys are getting off to those slow starts? And two, is there anything tangible that you can do to try to turn that around?
Yeah, I mean, early in the season, that was our big problem, first quarters. We started slow, and I think we fixed that for a fair while. We started getting off to better starts, started winning games as a result. And these last, however many games we've played, the first quarter's been bad. And, I mean, Coach was telling us a statistic. The team that wins the first quarter wins a certain percentage of games, and it's in favor of that team. And, the first quarter is important. It kind of sets the tone. And we haven't been, ahead and setting that tone early on. And it definitely is things we can control. I mean, we typically come ready to play in the third quarter, but we kind of have to have that mindset in the first. Come out the gates, throw the first punch. And I think the last few games we haven't done that. The other team has taken it to us, and we've had to call the first time out every game and kind of get back on our feet. But if we can stop playing uphill, as you said, it's going to put us in better stead because we're very good at coming back from large deficits. But if we don't put ourselves in a position where we have to come back, I think that's going to go a long way to winning more, of these tight games. So the first quarter is definitely a big area of improvement these last, 6-7 games.
With Shea out, you're taking the lion's share of responsibility as the primary ball handler. Is that something like riding a bike where you can just click back into it after, most of the season where you're playing more off of him? Or is it something that's taken a little bit of an adjustment period over the last couple of games?
Yeah, I mean, a bit of both. Obviously, I've been a natural ball handler my whole life, so it's not like I'm switching completely to another role. But obviously having more responsibility with the ball in your hands does change things a little bit. You kind of have to understand when to be aggressive, when to get other guys involved, and it can be a tough job as a point guard. You're trying to manage the whole game. Understanding who need to get involved. What offense to run, when to be aggressive, when not to be. So there's a lot of things you've got to kind of watch out there. Similar to a quarterback, they've got so many things they have to see on the floor. But I love that responsibility. I want to be able to make players better around me. So anytime I have that opportunity, I'll take it.